Hey guys, welcome to Peace of Truth. It's July 31st, 2015, 11:41 a.m. I just had a link sent to me by a friend who probably wishes to remain anonymous, and they were basically bringing up FATCA. I hadn't heard anything on FATCA in a while, so I figured I would run through a couple of quick articles just to refresh the memory. The article he sent was actually from the Crux.com website that I had never heard of or used as a source before, but they don't really have crazy advertisements over here, nothing too off the wall. So that looks good for them. Damn it. Anyway, here we are. It says the Crux. New currency law now in effect could be devastating for anyone holding US dollars. This was published on the 14th of July, 2015. It says here, hidden within HR Bill 2847 is a little known provision known as FATCA. The first part of this law went into effect last year. The rest of it will roll out piece by piece through the end of 2018. Few Americans have any clue about what this is, but FATCA actually stands for the Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act. Like many problematic pieces of legislation, this one sounds innocent enough, but it has major repercussions, which could expedite a worldwide flight from the US dollar and ultimately result in billions in potential losses for US citizens. For one, this law means any institution that deals with US dollars has to now comply with the IRS, which means many institutions could essentially stop dealing with US dollars. For another, this law makes it increasingly difficult, if not impossible, for the average American to get some of his money out of US dollars and into more stable currencies via foreign banks. Already, we've seen two of the largest banks in the world, JP Morgan Chase and HSBC, set all sorts of new regulations surrounding international wire transfers and how you can get your cash out of the bank. Many small banks have reportedly followed suit. Unfortunately, they don't leave links. We've heard several reports already of banks now refusing to accept American citizens' deposits, and this trend is likely to accelerate rapidly in the months to come. Again, no link. But most importantly, this law may signify that a true currency crisis is much closer than most people think in America. This new law is a clear example of what are known as capital controls, and this is exactly what broke and desperate governments do when they know the value of their currency is about to collapse. We've seen governments around the globe pull these stunts over and over again, right before currency devaluation or collapse. And now it's happening right here in the United States of America. Potter Stansberry, the founder of a Baltimore-based financial research firm, unnamed, says, the financial problems I've been tracking from bank to bank, from company to company for the last 6 years have now found their way into the U.S. Treasury. What it means is critically important to every American. Stansberry continues, the next phase in the crisis will threaten our very way of life. The savings of millions will be wiped out. This disaster will change your business and your work. It will dramatically affect your savings accounts, investments, and retirement. Could be speculation, could be truth. It will change everything about your normal way of life, where you vacation, where you send your kids to school, how and where you shop, the way you protect your family and home. Porter Stansberry and his research team have put together a full written analysis of not only what they believe will happen next, but what you can do about it. Now, again, I'm not really into fear porn or anything, so I don't necessarily prescribe to the doom and gloom aspect of everything, saying you're going to lose all your savings and all that. But thinking that the possibility of losing your savings is zero would actually probably be a little naive now, wouldn't it? Alrighty, so that was one source. I'll leave links to this article in the description box so you can read that. Again, that was posted on the 14th. So after reading that, I had to go to MSN and I did a little search, just typed in what is FATCA, and I came up with this article from Jamaica National Building Society. Now, a lot of you are probably going to scoff at the source, but sometimes I find that foreign sources from countries that are perceived as less developed and less educated are far more helpful than things from our own country. So basically it says here, what is FATCA? And FATCA is the U.S. Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act that has been enacted by the U.S. government and will come into effect as of January 2013. It says, well, next question, what is FATCA about? The answer, the U.S. laws call for financial institutions worldwide to sign an agreement with the U.S. Internal Revenue Service to identify, document, and report savings, investment, and life insurance on U.S. persons with accounts in their respective institutions. You are deemed a U.S. person if you fall into any of the following categories. If you're a dual citizen, a U.S. citizen residing outside of the U.S., a U.S. passport holder, born in the USA, a green card holder, or a non-U.S. citizen who has a substantial presence in the U.S. for at least 183 days, 6 months. Next question is, I have an account in Jamaica. Will I be affected? How will F.A.T.C.A affect me? It says here, if you are a U.S. person and you have more than 50,000 U.S. in savings or investment in Jamaica or in any other non-U.S. territory, you are likely to be affected. What information will be reported if JN signs the F.A.T.C.A agreement? It says here, foreign financial institutions which enters into an agreement with the IRS will need to report the following information about their U.S. accounts. The names, address, and taxpayer identification number of each account holder who is a specified United States person, and, in the case of any account holder that is a United States-owned foreign entity, the name, address, and TIN of each substantial United States owner of that entity, their account number, the account balance or value, gross receipts and gross withdrawals or payments from the account. Does it apply to remittance and loan payments? It says here, the simple transfer of money from someone in the U.S. to someone in Jamaica or any other foreign country will not be impacted by F.A.T.C.A withholding. However, money and income earned that is transferred into the U.S. account will be subject to the F.A.T.C.A reporting requirements. Which financial institutions in Jamaica will come under the law? All financial institutions in Jamaica will be affected. Will my funds be accessible to the U.S. government? Only in respect of withholding taxes, if applicable. And they get to deem what that is, What if I refuse to provide my information? Answer, no financial institution can hand over your information to the U.S. without your consent. However, the U.S. law is requiring all financial institutions to withhold a 30% tax on accounts where a person refuses to provide information to allow the institution to determine whether or not they are a U.S. person. So if you have $1 million, you're going to get hit for 300,000, for not reporting. Will Jamaica National lobby the government of Jamaica? Yes, JN will lobby the government of Jamaica and will recommend that the country enters into partnership with the U.S. Treasury to handle this matter on a government-to-government basis and call for the savings threshold to be raised under the law. What is Jamaica National Building Society doing about compliance? It says Jamaica National is ensuring that all of its members are informed about the U.S. laws and who it may affect. And this, unlike they do in America, in the society will keep its members briefed about the steps being taken by the government of Jamaica to address the matter. So I'll leave a link to this, obviously, as well in the description box, so you can come check that out if you want. And I also had another article here. Of course, it's frozen up on me. It's from Forbes. And it says, will F.A.T.C.A ever go into effect? This is from 2013. So they were bitching about it in December 12th, 2013, about the delay of F.A.T.C.A, because it was originally supposed to go into effect January 1st, and then they delayed it to July 1st, and then again from July 1st to January 1st. So essentially, the guy was just basically bitching that the government wasn't holding up the law. They weren't enforcing the law. They were just basically picking and choosing kind of a deal. I'll leave this link in the description box so you can read it as well. He basically argues that at the end, the F.A.T.C.A will just help the government catch tax evaders, which is a strong point, is obviously why they, the reason why they'll get public support in ways, but in other ways, I'm sure it's going to affect us down the line. So I know this was a really boring piece. It wasn't on hoaxes or NASA or anything like that. But I wanted to touch base on this because FATCA will be affecting the corporations, and that will affect us in some way. How it exactly will play out in prices of everything and quality of living, all that, I can't really tell at this point. But apparently this is law, and it's been in the books since January 2013. They're just slowly rolling it out over the next few years, piece by piece. And I guess that's what you have to do when you have a large change coming. You have to do it piece by piece, because the government or the people will revolt too strongly against the government if they just come out right off the rip and do it. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for your time. Like I said, I know this was a boring piece. I appreciate every one of your views. Take care now.